If humanity had waited for permission, the child would have died. If humanity had followed protocol, the storm would have claimed another life. But humans are strange creatures. When faced with the impossible, they step forward. Planet Curry's 9 was not made for mercy. The sky was always white with snow, the wind never silent, the ground harder than steel. Temperatures dropped so low that exposed metal shattered like glass. Even the alien empires marked it as a forbidden world, a place where life simply failed. Yet humans had built a research station there. They called it Outpost Aurora. Dr. Elena Vance stood outside that station when the storm scanners flickered red. She adjusted her visor and looked across the frozen wasteland. The wind screamed so loudly it sounded alive. No ships had entered orbit. No supply pods were scheduled. Nothing should have been out there. Then her thermal scanner picked up something impossible. A small heat signature. Weak. Fading. Protocol demanded she report it to command and wait for orders. Command was 2 hours away by communication relay. 2 hours was a lifetime in this cold. Elena did not wait. She stepped into the storm. The snow pushed against her like an enemy trying to drive her back. Ice formed on her suit joints. Her oxygen system worked overtime. Every step felt like walking through deep water made of knives. Still, she moved forward. Because humans are stubborn. After 15 brutal minutes, she saw twisted metal buried in the snow. A small escape pod, alien design. Smooth curves. Silver hull cracked open like a broken shell. Inside, curled against the frozen wall, was a child. Not human. Its skin shimmered pale blue, almost transparent. 4 slender arms wrapped around its small body. Soft light pulsed beneath its skin, but the glow was weak, flickering like a dying star. Elena felt her heart tighten. It was alone. Abandoned. Left to die. She did not hesitate. She removed her thermal cloak and wrapped the child inside it. The body was ice cold, but not lifeless. The faint glow brightened slightly when she lifted it. "Stay with me," she whispered. The storm roared louder, as if angry she had stolen its prize. The walk back nearly broke her. Twice she fell. Once she slid down a frozen ridge and barely stopped herself from crashing into jagged ice below. Through it all, she shielded the child with her own body. When she finally reached Outpost Aurora, alarm screamed as the doors sealed behind her. Inside the medical bay, the team froze at the sight. "What is that?" Commander Holt demanded. "A patient," Elena answered. The alien child's glow was almost gone now. Medical scanners struggled to read its biology. Its internal structure looked crystalline, not organic. Its bloodstream shimmered like liquid glass. "It's dying," one of the engineers said quietly. "Then we fix that," Elena replied. Human medical systems were built for human bodies. They failed instantly. Warmth caused the child's light to flicker violently. Standard oxygen mix triggered erratic signals. Nutrient fluids were rejected. Every attempt nearly killed it faster. Elena refused to panic. She studied the scan again. The crystalline patterns under its skin responded positively when temperature dropped. The colder the room, the more stable the glow became. "Lower the bay temperature," she ordered. "That's insane," Holt said. "We can't function in." "Lower it." They did. The room filled with frost as the system shifted toward sub-zero. The child's light steadied. Elena's mind raced. She reviewed the escape pod fragments brought inside. Fine mineral dust coated the interior walls. It wasn't breathing normal air, she realized. It was breathing mineral particles. Working through the night, she improvised. She ground compatible minerals from the station's geological samples. She mixed them into a fine vapor and fed it carefully into the medical chamber's atmosphere. The moment the mist surrounded the child, its body responded. The glow brightened. Steady. Rhythmic. Alive. No alien database had prepared them for this species. No manual explained how living crystal tissue functioned. But humans have something rare in the galaxy. Improvisation. Elena adjusted formulas again and again. Every failure taught her something. Every small success built a path forward. 3 days later, the child opened its eyes. They were not like human eyes. They were faceted, like tiny gemstones reflecting light in shifting colors. The glow beneath its skin began forming patterns, not random flickers, but deliberate shapes. Commander Holt stared at the monitors. It's conscious. Elena stepped closer. The light patterns shifted when she approached. They softened. Warmed. It recognizes you, whispered one of the scientists. The child slowly reached out one trembling hand and touched the glass barrier of the chamber. Elena placed her hand against the other side. The glow pulsed brighter. Not just survival. Connection. What they did not know, what none of them could see, was that the escape pod had transmitted a signal before it crashed. Far beyond Carries 9, an alien warship had detected the pod's destruction. They believed the child lost. They did not know humans had intervened. They did not know the child belonged to one of the oldest and most powerful civilizations in the quadrant, a species that valued strength above mercy. And they certainly did not expect what would happen when they discovered that a fragile, reckless species called humanity had claimed one of their own. Inside Outpost Aurora, Elena smiled for the first time in days. "Welcome back," she whispered. Outside, the storm finally began to fade. But a far greater storm was coming. And humanity had just stepped into it. The alien child did not speak with words. It spoke with light. At first, the patterns were small and uncertain, like a candle flame in a draft. But as days passed, the shapes became clearer. Waves of blue-white light rippled under its skin in repeating sequences. The scientists recorded everything, comparing the flickers to math, sound, and even language structures. Dr. Elena Vance stayed closest. She learned the child's moods by the glow. Calm meant slow pulses. Fear meant sharp flashes. Curiosity looked like spirals that danced along its arms. They named it Nico. Not because they knew its real name, but because humans could not stop themselves from giving a lost child something familiar. Nico's strength returned quickly once Elena perfected the mineral mist. The child began sitting up. Then standing. Then exploring the medical bay with careful steps. It moved like a delicate sculpture that somehow had a heartbeat. One night, while the others slept, Nico pressed its palm against the glass barrier and made a new pattern. The light shifted into a shape that looked almost like a map. Elena leaned in, breath fogging her visor. "You're trying to tell me something," she whispered. Nico's glow pulsed twice, then formed a sharp line that pointed upward. Orbit. Elena's stomach tightened. Before she could call anyone, the station's early warning sensors blared. A heavy tremor shook the walls. Frost fell from ceiling vents. The lights flickered. Commander Holt burst into the medical bay, face pale. "We've got a ship entering atmosphere. Not ours." The screen above the command console displayed a silhouette so large it blocked half the sky. A warship. Alien. Black as void, lined with glowing symbols that looked like teeth. Outpost Aurora's defense systems were not made for war. They were made for weather, wildlife, and emergencies. Nothing in the human files described what to do when an unknown alien dreadnought descended toward your tiny research station like a hammer. Holt's voice was tight. "Signals coming through. Translation software is struggling." A harsh sound filled the speakers, like metal grinding. Then a cold, smooth voice broke through in broken human language. "Return. The crystalline air." The room went silent. Elena glanced at Nico. The child froze, glow flashing hard and jagged. "Fear." Commander Holt swallowed. "We don't even know who you are." The voice returned, colder. "We are the Vadrin Dominion. We do not ask twice." One of the engineers whispered, "Dominion. I've heard that name. Trade routes avoid them. Entire systems go quiet when they pass." Holt's hands clenched. Tell them we found a child, injured. We saved it. It's under medical protection." The translator relayed the message. There was a pause. Then the response came like a blade. "Protection is irrelevant. That child is property of the Dominion." Elena's blood ran cold. Property. She stepped forward. It's not property. It's a person. The warship's voice did not change. Humans are soft-minded. You confuse mercy with authority. Return the air now, or we will take it. Your outpost will be erased. Holt's jaw tightened. We don't have weapons. We're a research station. Elena looked at the holoscreen. The ship was already releasing smaller craft, gliding down like dark birds. Then she looked at Nico. The child's glow shifted, forming a rapid swirl pattern Elena had never seen. Not fear this time. Something sharper. Urgency. Nico moved to the wall panel, placed all 4 hands on it, and pulsed light in a long rhythm. The panel sparked. The lights above flickered. What the engineer gasped. Nico wasn't just glowing. It was interacting. Elena's mind snapped into focus. It's affecting our electronics. The crystal patterns in its body, they're resonating. Nico pulsed again, stronger. The medical bay's glass barrier cracked slightly, as if a hidden vibration ran through the air. Holt stared. It can do that. Elena swallowed. I think it's not just a child. The warship's landing craft were almost at the perimeter now. Outpost Aurora's external cameras showed tall armored figures stepping onto the ice. Their bodies were covered in hard crystal plating. Their helmets glowed with cold light. Vadrin soldiers. They marched through the storm like it did not exist. Commander Holt's voice shook. We can't fight them. Elena's eyes narrowed. Then we don't fight them like soldiers. The Dominion thought humans were weak, soft, emotional, easy to crush. Humans had heard that before. Elena turned to the station team. How long can we hold a sealed environment if they breach? Not long, said the chief engineer. They'll cut through the doors like paper. Elena nodded. Then we don't let them reach the doors. Holt blinked. How? Elena pointed to the storm monitors. Curries. 9 is already trying to kill everything out there. We just need to help it, a little. The engineer stared. You mean weaponize the weather? Not the weather, Elena said, voice low. The station. She rushed to the control terminal. The station had a deep geothermal drilling system used to power the outpost. It also had emergency pressure vents designed to release heat when systems overloaded. Heat in a planet this cold was not comfort. It was danger. Elena's fingers flew across the interface. If we open the geothermal vents at the perimeter, we create a sudden temperature shift, ice cracking, steam eruption, fog wall. Their sensors will lose visibility. Their armor will frostlock. Holt hesitated. That could damage our own systems. Elena met his eyes. We're already dead if we do nothing. The engineer nodded slowly. I can route the vents through the surface lines. But we need a trigger, something to time it perfectly. They're moving fast. Elena looked at Nico. The child stood still, light pulsing in controlled, steady waves. Not panic. Not confusion. Focus. Elena knelt beside Nico. Can you feel them? Can you sense their tech? Nico's glow formed a single line again. Downward. Toward the outside. Yes. Elena felt her throat tighten. Then help us. Nico placed its 4 hands on the station floor. The lights beneath its skin brightened. The whole outpost hummed. Monitors glitched. Screens flickered. Power levels spiked across the grid. The engineer shouted, It's boosting our energy flow, like it's acting as a living conductor. Elena's eyes widened. It's amplifying the station's systems. Holt stared at the child in shock. This is why they want it back. Outside, the Vadrin soldiers reached the first security marker. Elena whispered, Now. The engineer slammed the command. The ground around the soldiers erupted. Not with fire, but with violent steam and mineral mist, blasting upward in towering pillars. The sudden heat met the deadly air and instantly turned into thick, freezing fog. Ice cracked across the surface like thunder. The Vadran soldiers stumbled. Their crystal armor, built to resist lasers and plasma, was not built for sudden temperature shock. Frost formed in their joints. Their movements slowed. Their leader raised an arm to signal retreat. But Elena wasn't finished. She rerouted the mineral mist through the vents, exactly the mix Nico needed to breathe. The fog thickened into a shimmering haze. The Vadran sensors screamed, unable to read through it. Their comms crackled. Their formation broke. Inside the station, Holt whispered, "They're blind." Elena exhaled. Good. Then the warship's voice returned, no longer calm. Human defiance detected. Termination authorized. A new sound filled the air, a deep, rising whine. The dreadnought's main cannon was charging. Elena's skin prickled. If that cannon fired, the station would vanish in a single flash. Holt's voice broke. "We can't stop that." Elena looked at Nico, and for the first time, she saw something in those gem-like eyes that looked like understanding. Not a child's understanding. A survivor's. Nico's glow changed again, forming patterns more complex than anything before. The air inside the medical bay vibrated gently, like a quiet song building toward a scream. The engineer stared at his console. "Power levels are going insane. Where is it pulling energy from?" Elena whispered, "Not from us." The storm outside began to swirl again, faster, tighter, as if the planet itself was being grabbed and twisted. Nico's light flared. The snow in the air turned into a spinning spiral. A perfect white cyclone formed between the dreadnought and the station. A wall of ice, wind, and screaming cold. The cannon fired. A beam of burning energy cut down toward Outpost Aurora. But it struck the cyclone. And the storm did something no alien weapon designer expected. It bent the beam. The energy curved, scattered, and vanished into the sky like sunlight through shattered glass. For the first time in the history of the Vadran Dominion, their weapon failed. In the station, every human stood frozen, staring at the screen. Elena's voice was barely a whisper. That was impossible. Nico's glow pulsed once, soft and steady. As if to say, humans aren't the only ones who refuse to die. Outside, the dreadnought pulled back slightly, stunned by what it had just seen. But Elena knew the truth. They had only bought time. The Dominion would not forgive this. And now, the galaxy was watching. Because on a dead frozen world, a tiny human station had just humiliated an empire. And the empire would come again. The galaxy had seen wars. It had seen planets burned and fleets shattered. But it had never seen a storm bend a Dominion cannon. Inside the black hull of the Vadran dreadnought, silence spread like a crack in glass. Their technology was ancient and perfected. Their weapons did not fail. Their enemies did not survive. Yet a small human research station still stood. And the air they believed lost was alive. Commander Holt stared at the tactical display. "They're pulling back." Elena did not relax. Not retreating. Recalculating. The massive warship shifted higher into orbit, just outside the storm's reach. Smaller assault craft returned to its belly like angry insects. "They won't make the same mistake twice," Holt muttered. Nico stood in the center of the medical bay, glow steady but intense. The child looked smaller than ever against the heavy steel walls of the station. Yet Elena now understood something terrifying. Nico was not helpless. The Vadran had called the child the heir. That meant power. And if the Dominion ruled through strength, then the heir was not simply royalty. It was a weapon. Elena knelt beside Nico. "They want to control you." The glow shifted into sharp angles. "Yes," she whispered. "I thought so." Across the room, the engineer spoke up. "We're detecting a transmission burst from the dreadnought. High power. Broad spectrum." Holt frowned. To who? The answer came seconds later. Multiple new signals appeared on the edge of the system. Ships. Not human. Not Dominion. Observers. Word had spread fast. The Dominion had attacked a human outpost. Their cannon had failed. Now other species were watching. Elena felt something click in her mind. The Dominion ruled through fear. Their reputation was their strongest weapon. If others saw them fail, that fear would crack. And humans were very good at using cracks. The dreadnought transmitted again. This time the voice was colder, stripped of pretense. Human station. You interfere in Dominion inheritance. Surrender the air. This is your final warning. Holt looked at Elena. We can't survive another direct blast. Elena nodded slowly. We don't need to. She stood and faced the central console. Open a public channel. All frequencies. Holt blinked. Public? That means every ship out there hears us. That's the point. He hesitated only a moment before nodding. The channel opened. Elena stepped forward, her face illuminated by the pale glow of Nico's light. This is Dr. Elena Vance of Outpost Aurora, she said clearly. To any vessel receiving this transmission, we are under threat by the Vadran Dominion. There was movement among the distant ships. Signals intensified. Elena continued, voice steady. 3 weeks ago, we found a child dying in the snow. Alone. Abandoned. We did not know its species. We did not know its power. We only knew it needed help. She placed a hand gently near Nico. We chose to save a life. The Dominion voice cut in, furious. Cease this broadcast. Elena ignored it. The Dominion calls this child property. They demand we surrender it like equipment. The watching ships began transmitting quiet bursts between themselves. Elena's eyes hardened. But if this is their heir, if this is their future ruler, then ask yourselves this. She leaned closer to the camera. Why was their heir alone in a broken pod on a death world? Silence fell across the channel. The Dominion ship did not respond. Elena pressed on. What kind of empire abandons its own child to die? That question moved faster than any weapon. Across the system, alien captains exchanged data. Political rivals of the Dominion listened carefully. Trade partners calculated risk. Fear was powerful, but doubt was deadly. Inside the dreadnought, tension rose. The Dominion voice returned, sharper now. The heir was undergoing trial by survival. Strength is proven through suffering. Elena almost laughed. You left a child to freeze. Nico's glow flared suddenly, not with fear, not with weakness. With decision. The child stepped forward and placed its hands on the broadcast console. The lights under its skin exploded into brilliant white patterns. The transmission feed changed. Instead of Elena's face, every ship in orbit now saw Nico. The crystalline glow formed symbols, fast, complex, undeniable. The engineer gasped. It's overriding our translator, it's speaking directly into their systems. Streams of alien data poured across the network. Not a child's random signals. Structured code. Dominion command codes. Access keys. Authority signatures. Holt stared at the readings. That's not just their heir, that's their command core. Elena understood in a flash. The heir was not raised to rule later. The heir was born connected. The living interface to Dominion military control. Which meant something else. If the heir rejected them, their ships would listen. In orbit, the dreadnought's power levels flickered. For the first time, its shields wavered. The Dominion voice returned, no longer confident. Heir. Cease. Nico's glow intensified. Across every observing ship screen, the Dominion insignia shattered into fragments of light. Then a new symbol formed. Not sharp. Not cruel. A spiral. The same spiral Nico had shown Elena the first night. Choice. The dreadnought's weapon systems powered down. Its engines sputtered. Inside the warship, command authority was being stripped away. The heir had spoken. And the Dominion could not override its own core. Holt whispered, they just lost control of their flagship. Across the system, something changed. The observing ships did not attack. They simply recorded. Witnessed. The myth of Dominion invincibility cracked in real time. The dreadnought hesitated, then slowly, almost reluctantly, turned away from Curry's 9. It did not fire. It did not threaten. It retreated. The storm below howled triumphantly. Inside Outpost Aurora, no one spoke for several seconds. Elena looked down at Nico. The glow softened again, no longer blazing with command power. Just gentle light beneath crystal skin. You could have destroyed them, she whispered. Nico formed the spiral again. Choice. Mercy. Elena smiled slowly. That's the difference, she said softly. Humans fight when they must. But they protect when they can. And now the entire quadrant had seen it. The Dominion had ruled through fear. A human doctor had challenged them with compassion. And their own heir had chosen freedom over cruelty. Days later, diplomatic channels flooded the system. Species that had once bowed quietly began questioning treaties. Trade routes shifted. Political alliances trembled. Not because of a fleet. Not because of superior firepower. Because a human refused to let a child die. Outpost Aurora became more than a research station. It became a symbol. Of defiance. Of creativity. Of stubborn, reckless humanity. Elena stood outside weeks later, watching the snow fall gently instead of violently. Nico stood beside her, light reflecting off the white world. Do you want to go back someday? She asked quietly. The glow formed the spiral once more. Then it extended outward, toward the stars. Not back. Forward. Elena nodded. Then we'll figure it out together. Far beyond the frozen horizon, the galaxy shifted. Empires reconsidered their strength. Civilizations whispered a new truth. Humans were not the strongest species. They were not the oldest. They were not the most advanced. But they were the ones who would walk into a storm for someone else. And sometimes, that was more powerful than any empire. The snow continued to fall. But on Curry's 9, it no longer felt like a death world. It felt like the beginning of something endless. And somewhere deep in the stars, other abandoned sparks of light began to wonder if humans would come for them too.